Welcome to Screen Riot. This week's movie is Quadrophenia, a drama film from 1979. This episode will contain major spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, it's available to stream on HBO Max or to rent on all the major streaming services. Go check it out and come back to the podcast because this is Screen Riot.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. This is the podcast where we let fate choose the movies that we watch. And as Eddie said at the beginning, we're taking a look at a drama film called Quadrophenia from 1979. It's rated R, and it is a 2-hour-long movie. It was directed by a man named Frank Rodham, who I think this is one of his earlier feature-length films, and I think he stopped making movies back in 1999 or something like that, so a long time ago. But anyway, since Eddie, this was your pick, please give us a quick synopsis of what Quadrophenia is all about.
Okay, so quick synopsis. So basically, Quadrophenia follows the story of Jimmy, a young mod, modernist, quote-unquote, living in London, hanging out with his friends on the weekends and during the week, doing drugs, riding scooters, chasing girls, getting in fights with rockers, and it sort of culminates with him falling out of the mod scene. That's the quickest synopsis I can possibly give.
Yeah,
while also spoiling the movie a little bit.
So, like Eddie's typical weekend?
No drugs.
A spoiler?
Used to have scooters, but no drugs.
Did you have the giant mirrors?
I did.
Or not giant mirrors. There's just a ton of small mirrors. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I had at one point I had 5 bikes and 2 of them I had modded out. So yeah, I did.
How many mirrors did you have?
Like 15.
On one?
Just 15?
Come on.
Just 15.
Lame.
That's a rookie numbers. You got to boost those numbers up.
I don't see myself only having 15 mirrors.
Not according to was it Chalky's bike or scooter that had like just a gob amount.
One of them had a ton of mirrors. And actually, I was laughing because there's a scene where the rockers are catching up to Chalky, I believe, the one that gets flipped off of his bike. And I was laughing because as they were coming up behind him, he kept like looking around behind him and everything. And I'm like, why? just look anywhere forward. You can see behind you.
So here's the thing: you can't actually see out of any of those mirrors because of where they're placed at. They're too low for you to actually be able to see shit. So yeah, you
it's all
just turn around.
It's fashion over function, then, I guess.
Which is most of the mod scene is fashion. Like fashion is high. Like priority number 1 is like be the coolest looking guy or girl on the scene. Like that's number 1.
I get that, but it's like they were wearing all these nice suits and everything, and then they were covering themselves up with like Vietnam era jackets. Like, what's the point of that? Just because the rockers had like leather jackets, they had to have some sort of jacket to, be on a certain team.
All those nice clothes.
So it's twofold. Maybe. One is that it's basically serving as protection, from the elements for your
like
ridiculously nice suit that you just had custom made. And then 2, it's just what was adopted. It's the military. What is it? I think it's like an M4 or something like that, M4A or something jacket. It's the jacket that they adopted and they wore. Those kids, the mods, they were basically obsessed with the Italian style, where the rockers were more obsessed with like the Americans. That Marlon Brando movie,
well, it's called a Barracuda jacket.
The mod jacket,
or a Harrington jacket, or a G9.
Oh, the G9. The G9 is the jacket that they're wearing. The Harrington is actually you can see that in some of the scenes, but it's basically just it had plaid on the inside. His buddy was wearing one. Dave was wearing one.
The Marlon Brando film you're looking for is the Wild One.
The Wild One.
1953.
Exactly. That was the movie that they were like obsessed with.
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah, Rebel Without a Cause is James Dean. Yeah.
Yes.
Military green fishtail parka.
There you go. Yep. And that was mainly their cover-up jacket again to protect their suits, but then also to kind of distinguish them apart from the rockers. Yes.
Yeah. I just like the poster. It's like him with a target, which I'm not really sure what that's supposed to symbolize. And then you've got like this big puffy jacket that's kind of like covering him up. Like a whole blanket.
Like a little
Look,
blanket.
Yeah,
Really?
little blanket in it.
Isn't it?
Oh man.
Oi.
Well, I gotta say, before we get deep dive into this, that the first time that you meet Sting in this movie made me laugh. I could not understand. He just looks so awkward riding a scooter, and just visually, it's one of the funniest things I've
But
seen
yeah,
in the movie.
did you
so
check out
stiff.
his? Did
He's
you
so
check
stiff.
out his smolder though?
Oh, look at him. Doesn't he look smart?
look.
Look at the scooter.
That is ice.
Woo!
Whoa!
That smolder.
It
It gets all the girls, and then his dancing in the party.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah, he's doing
man.
the Watusi or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, and
I
it
don't
looks
know what
like
this is.
he looks like, you know what, I want to be anywhere else, but what I'm doing right now is his face, but then his body's
Yeah, I'm dancing.
He does have
So
a
the-
cool jacket like towards the end, like during the riot and all, right? Didn't he have like a duster or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a long leather jacket that he was wearing at the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the target, by the way, I just double checked to make sure that I wasn't wrong when I said this. The target was originally from the French Air Force, and the
French
mods
Air Force, okay.
the mods adopted it sort of as like a pop art style thing. Like they adopted it in a ironic way, if it,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term. So they turned it from meaning something military to meaning something hip and cool.
Gotcha.
And that's
Yeah, 'cause
just
I
like a
also
lot of the
noticed-
things.
I didn't really notice this until you said something, but on the actual title,
Mhm.
it's the male symbol, the circle with the arrow,
Mhm.
and then in the middle it's that orange dot. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
So-
it's pretty cool overall. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
No, well, I was just gonna say, so we're talking about all these, military stuff. So obviously Vietnam was in the mid '60s. What time period is this supposed to take place specifically?
So this is supposed to take place in 1965. Some of what they do in the movie and some of the songs that they play in the movie are actually anachronistic, because like My Generation by The Who gets played at that party.
Mhm.
That didn't come out until 1967. But they are listening to it supposedly in 1965. The Brighton riots happened a few different years, but the one that they're supposed to be at they actually took place in 1964. So it's a combination of a few different events and a combination of a few different things taking place that are sort of shown as events, or shown as like with the music and all that through the movie.
Yeah, apparently it was an August bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, Pete Townsend from The Who was really instrumental in helping to make this movie. In fact, the Who album Quadrophenia was completely written by him, which was, I think that was the only album that was 100% written by him. And it was all like, this movie is basically him trying to like capture what was the mod movement like in the early 60s, which the Who were a part of. I mean, the Who, the Rolling Stones, etc. They were all part of the mod movement back then.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if they were part of it. Which gotta make sense if they wrote songs about it. So
yeah, it's a pretty, I don't know, I like the movie because, like, talking about the movie and not so much the history.
Yeah,
what I like about the movie is that you get this glimpse of, I mean, to me, what feels kind of like real life. Like, you get a feeling for what it was like to be a teenager in the early 60s, when being a teenager really wasn't a thing. Like the whole notion, the whole concept of teen years or being a teenager was a new thing. I mean, after World War II, everyone who survived came back, got pregnant, and then 15 to 20 years later, these kids were growing up and basically becoming the first teenagers of the century. There were kids who were obviously 13, 14, 15 in the 1910s, but those kids were still like working in warehouses and like had paper routes and stuff. Like, think Oliver Twist.
A few years later, there's World War One.
There's World War One, and the whole generation of boys gets killed. The whole generation of women get killed.
They didn't
and
really
then
have that teenage, experience.
Yeah, they had to grow up faster than they had to. Yeah.
They had to. And then after World War II, we have the first generation of kids that not only get to kind of be kids, but also have like spending money, right? Like, they have extra money left over because they're the largest population. Well, exactly. And they're the largest population in the country. Like, the older people still run the country, but as far as numbers go, there's more of the 18 to 24-year-olds than there are any other age group at that time. It's kind of an interesting, phenomenon to happen the way that it did, but it was all based on the fact that World War II like wiped out most of their population, or a large part of their population, I should say.
So in the main character, Jimmy, he, I guess, wasn't right in the head. Like, he was just trying to, I mean, it looked to me like he was just a normal teenager, like in today's times. But I guess back then, like you said, that, you know, this was the first generation that didn't really have to grow up as quick as their elders. But I don't know, it like everybody was talking about how he was mental, and, you know, he had, you know, disorders or disabilities or whatever, and he was just kind of out there. Not really normal or something.
Yeah, they plant the seed of schizophrenia in a conversation that he has
that's what they used.
with his dad. Yeah.
I'll tell you what's wrong with you. You're schizophrenic, that's what you are. What's that then, eh? What's that? I'll tell you what that is. It's somebody like you who doesn't know whether his mind's over here or over there. Bloody split personality.
Yeah, there's that, and then so when his friends are referring to him as being mental, what they're talking about is that he's actually more traditional than not. He is a little bit like he does have something going on. He has some kind of mental illness that's there. It's being exacerbated by his use of amphetamines, the French blues that they keep talking about.
Those pills are crazy.
Yeah, but when they talk about, like, they're like, you know, why are you acting mental, that whole nine? What they're talking about most of the time is whenever he decides to act more traditional than not, like whenever he gets upset that Steph is dating Dave. Well, in the normal mod movement, I mean, nobody belonged to anybody technically, so bang whoever you want. And that doesn't really jive with him. He has this like vein of traditionalism in him. When his parents talk about him being mental, most of the time what they're talking about is him acting insane as far as being a part of the mod movement. But through all of that, he does have this like underlying undiagnosed true mental illness that seems to be coming through. You know what I mean?
There was definitely some irony planted in there on, you know, was it his uncle that killed himself, but didn't really mean to kill himself, but he just drowned. You know, it wasn't really a drug overdose, which they thought that he was going to eventually OD on drugs, but he never did. He just drowned or something like that, you know. But so Chalky, you know, that dude, I did like him as a character. He was in Sherlock. He was the creepy taxi driver in
really?
Oh, that's him.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that looks like it's a budget Gary Busey, pretty much. but
Gary Busey.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to go, hello, man. Scooter, hello, mirrors, you know, just doing some crazy shit. But yeah, he was a crazy taxi driver in Sherlock, the British one.
Yeah, I think that's like the first episode.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. And then of course Ray Winstone. Or Winstone? Was it Winstone?
Yeah, Winstone. Yeah.
Whatever happened to him? He was like this, you know, buddy with Jimmy, and then all of a sudden he gets beat the hell up, and then poof, he's gone. Like, where did that go?
They left him in the trash. That's all I can say.
Did he die?
I don't know. Well, the crazy thing about that scene too, before we talk about his possible fate, is he's pleading with Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's like, tell him to stop, and Jimmy just like yells and runs away.
I think that's
like
just maybe to save face with the mods.
And that's what I'm thinking of. It's like, man, it's like, dude, you're picking this this movement, and you're basically your clothing over your friend, man. I mean, you know, they were obviously friends growing up, and they just took two different paths.
I mean, that was the immaturity of him coming out, right? I mean, he should have stepped up and said, hey, this isn't right.
See, I think it goes beyond the immaturity. I think it goes back to the idea of mental illness and the conflict between the two worlds that he's trying to be a part of.
Right.
The world one, the normal human adult world, he could be friends with that guy with Ray Winstone. I forget the guy's name. Kevin, maybe?
Kevin, yeah.
Kevin? Okay. He could be friends with Kevin, and no one would give a shit. Like, no one cares, right? But with the mods, he has to destroy this guy because the guy's wearing leather pants.
Yeah.
And
or a leather jacket or something, yeah.
Yeah, where you're saying he like freaks out and rides off screaming. He does that 2 or 3 times in the movie at least. And I think that's the mental illness piece that they're trying to show. Because he does it with the lovers under the bridge. He does it whenever Steph breaks up with him. He does it a fair enough times that I'm like, I don't think I've ever just ridden around screaming. Like, that's not a normal.
I also took it too that like the amount of drugs that he was on, at the time.
Oh yeah, that doesn't help.
That could definitely screw somebody up, mentally.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think the amphetamines definitely are exacerbating the problem. But I mean, as far as why he didn't save him, yeah, I agree. It's a flaw as far as he has. As far as what the fuck happened to Kevin, I don't know. That's a plot hole in the movie. I agree with you. They definitely do not wrap that up well.
Yeah.
They imply that he dies. The fact that we
really?
never see him again. I mean, I think so. The fact that we never see him again, we never hear about, like Jimmy talking or him showing, he knows where the fuck Jimmy lives. Why doesn't he show up and whip his ass by himself? He just doesn't do that. They just bunch of blood on the wall and credits for that guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what else happens to him. I mean, it's kind of, it's left up in the air, but it's not very ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because go ahead.
Well, I was just to say it's interesting you take it that because I was taking it the other way of I feel like they probably just kicked his ass and then left him on the side of the road, not dead, but
Right.
Yeah.
just beat up or whatever. I didn't feel like a murder happened.
A murder. Yes, exactly. Well, okay, so maybe they didn't kill him, but he definitely disappears from the film.
Right,
I agree.
yes,
That's a
yeah.
plot. That's a plot hole, I should say. That
Yeah.
I would like to have known what the fuck happened to him.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we saw him back at at Brighton Riot or
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
Got his revenge.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, kick the shit out of Dave, maybe.
Or maybe if it was he came into a situation where his group was about to kick a mod's ass, and then he steps up and says, "No, this isn't right," and then he leaves.
Well, Kevin doesn't have a group. That's the tragedy of Kevin is he's not a rocker like that.
Oh, I thought he was
just-
a part of the rocker.
No, he just wears leathers and rides bikes. He likes the bikes. He doesn't give a shit about the whole rocker mod scene. He says that in the deli.
Yeah.
He says that whenever they're eating in the cafeteria
that's right.
thing. He says I don't give a toss about mods and rockers. I mean, we're all people, aren't we? Yeah. He cares about the just being British. He doesn't give a shit about mods, rockers, the war that is coming. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. So that's why I find him to be a tragic character in that way, to be honest.
Yeah. So with this movie, I was definitely noticing how slow this was going. And I mean, there was a lot of things happening, but yet nothing was progressing as quickly as I thought it should. But I don't know, I was like 20 or 30 minutes in and I was thinking, okay, well, this is going pretty smooth and pretty quick. I should be about an hour in. No. I was like 30 minutes in. I was like, whoa, okay.
I did.
We're in for a ride.
Yeah. First 37 minutes, I paused it at least 4 times, going, man, I got to be like an hour in. Nope, just 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff happening.
I got to be an hour in now.
Yeah.
Nope, 32 minutes in. I mean, it was pretty rough that first hour for me.
Well, I think it was just because there was so much stuff happening. And, I think Justin and I talked about this, it was repetitive. Like he would be at a party and then back home, at a party, back home, getting, lit on drugs and then riding a scooter. And it was just like
all the angst in between those scenes. Party angst.
Oh yeah.
The angst in between.
Yeah. Angst everywhere. It was like a star wipe. It was the star wipe of the editor. Oh, he's angsty. I got to cut now.
What was that, Justin?
Oh, I said it was an angst sandwich.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. I looked at that. So here's the thing. I can understand the time thing you guys are talking about. I think that for the most part, they're trying to build texture. I just think they were just showing as much of the world as they could. I mean, like with him going into like the place where they were getting the custom suits made and he goes in to pick up his suit. Then they're showing him getting his hair cut and stuff. And the mods like looking at pictures of Italian guys on the walls.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
being like, give me that hair.
That's world
building
building stuff.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, that's what I look at for the first 37 minutes is they were like world building the shit out of things.
Yeah. But I mean, like some of the parties he goes to.
He only goes to one party.
No. I mean, there's the house party that he goes to.
Yes.
There's
the dance hall at the beginning.
Yeah, the dance hall. Forgot about that one.
And then they go to another dance hall.
Brighton. Yeah.
When they go to another dance hall whenever Spider
Brighton
gets jumped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when Spider gets jumped, they go to another dance hall. And then I think they go to one more after they rob the chemist. Oh no, that's a cafeteria. That's like a deli. That deli that they hang out at with the pinball machines.
Right. Yeah, they go to there
somewhere
like
they see the blonde
times.
again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel like there was any just like standard plot line. It was it was almost like a day in the life of Jimmy. And then
I think if you cut it in half, it'd have been better.
Yes.
Well, and I did like the whole Brighton Battle of Brighton scenes. Those were cool. But boy, the British police, they really know how to contain a riot. That's for sure. Bring out the horses and just beat the crap out of people. And then finally, like, they're like trapping people with buses, and I'm like, golly, these guys were prepped.
It's like
I like when Sting gets arrested and he's like fighting the cop, he's like, oh, never mind, I got it.
I thought Jimmy was really I thought Jimmy was done for when he got tossed into the truck with all the rockers. I was like, dude, this guy's dead.
Yeah, I didn't see the cop.
End of story.
Yeah, I didn't see the cop on the side.
I didn't either.
Up until towards the end when they put Sting in there, that's when I saw him. So I thought it was just a whole bunch of rockers in there. I thought he was about to get his ass beat.
What I did find funny though during that scene was Sting takes out a cigarette and then he offers Jimmy a cigarette and then the cop takes a cigarette.
Yeah.
When Sting also offers it to one of the rockers and
he pinches his fingers. Well, he pinches his fingers in and he tries to.
It's like not
okay. All right, yeah.
Well, and then then there's the sex scene during the riot.
Oh yeah,
the most awkward sex scene ever.
Fun times.
One could even call it
what gets me going.
Yeah, one could even call it anticlimactic. You know what I mean? But I will say that there's parts of the movie that are happening in Brighton, especially the riots, like the sex scene. Like Sting writing the check in court and all that kind of stuff, or saying he'll pay the 75-pound fee right there in court.
Yeah,
that stuff actually happened during the riot.
It may perhaps discourage you and others of your kidney or infected with this vicious virus that you'll be ordered to pay a fine of £75.
I'll pay now if you don't mind. You haven't got a pen, have you, Your Honour?
So there were stories that they compiled about the riots in Brighton that they got from different places, etc. And they worked some of those stories into the movie, and they even took some of the footage that they have from the riots and they replicated that for the film. So there's like pictures. There's a picture of there's a part in the movie, I should say, where there's a guy getting hit with a 2x4 by a rocker. There's a picture of that exists that in real life, right? But it's not from the movie. It's from the 1964 riot, which is pretty fucking cool. Like, I like the idea that they took it and they were like, well, this person right here, we don't know this fucking guy, but let's just make this one of the characters in the movie and make it look like he got hit by a 2x4. And then if anybody looks up the Brighton riots, they'll actually be able to kind of correlate the movie to the actual event. I think that's pretty awesome. Same thing with the sex thing, though. Somebody said that while people were getting arrested, they were down the alley with a bird. And I thought that was pretty funny as well. And then Sting in court, there was a guy who was in court. The judge said, okay, it's going to be a £75 fine. And the guy said, can I pay it right now? Now, unlike the movie, he did not write a check in court. That didn't actually happen where he wrote the check. But he did say, can I?
Well, there goes my score.
Is it okay if I write it right now? Which I think is pretty balls. Like, you just got arrested in a riot.
You find out.
I do it right now.
Yeah. You find out towards the end that Sting is a bellhop for his day job.
Yes.
So I'm almost wondering if like that was just to save face. Ace Face. Ooh, get it?
Oh my god. Because his name was Ace Face.
That was his character name was Ace Face.
All right, I'm at
it.
Guys.
Yep. That's it for me. Thanks, guys.
This was Screen Riot. I appreciate it.
I almost wonder if he didn't really have the money, but that was him being I'm gonna be the face.
Well, because he was technically the celebrity of that group,
right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm wondering if it was fake. If it was, he wasn't really gonna do it. He was just trying to be a dick in court.
Yeah.
Bellhops get a lot of tips, man. He possibly could have had that money.
Well, especially in Brighton. Brighton's a big vacation town out there. So those people who are going to Brighton, he had a pretty good job to be able to make a decent living. It wasn't.
But he looked like he was a shit bellboy though.
Kept dropping bags and everything.
That was Monday morning. That was Monday, man.
I don't disagree with you. He did kind of look like a shit bellhop. He looked like one who begrudgingly was a bellhop.
Yes,
but he probably cleaned up. To be honest, with those rich fucks, even if they tossed him a tenner, that's a lot of money back then. You know what I mean? So.
A fiver bought all those blues, man. I was like crazy. It's like he tossed him five quid or whatever it is, and he's like a whole bag. Like, you kidding me?
Yeah. You know, it's just like that. It's kind of ironic that you pick for the face of your counterculture movement a guy who's a member of the band called the Police.
It was chosen ironically too, Justin. Jeez. So talking about him being a bellhop, though, real fast, let's talk about why Jimmy flipped the fuck out whenever he found out he was a bellhop. Because I don't like the scene where he just starts screaming "bellboy" into the hotel that much, but at the same time, I kind of like the way that they show Jimmy's whole world collapsing within like 10 minutes.
That's
like,
my favorite part of the movie.
Like, yeah, like everything collapses, but for him. So with him seeing, Sting being being a bellboy and basically being like a tool of the man, Jimmy's whole idea of what mods are and how they can fight, how the counterculture can win against the conservatives of England, etc. All that shit comes crashing down because he basically thinks Sting is like God. He's the mod God, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. And then it's symbolically kind of wrapped up by him driving Sting's GS 160 off the cliff. I say that, by the way, because it wasn't really a fucking GS 160. It was a Rally 180 turned into a GS 160, like made to look like a GS 160.
Oh, they just lost the point for me.
Well, GS 160s are expensive as shit.
Historically inaccurate.
Yeah, I'm just saying. GS 160s.
Why the hell you bring another Hidden Figures in here, Eddie?
Hey, you know what? At least they didn't say based on a true story at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
so the cliffs, the cliffs at the end, right?
Yes.
Those are the White Cliffs of Dover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Probably. I don't know. Yeah.
Brighton is really, really far away from Dover.
Okay.
Yeah. So he took that scooter and drove it all the way to the White Cliffs of Dover just to destroy it.
Yes.
That's some gumption right there.
Symbolic.
Yeah, he quit his job.
So did he kill himself?
He's got nothing to do.
He's got nothing to do.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the ending with the.
Did he kill himself?
The Thelma and Louise ending.
No.
Thelma and Louise ending.
No, he killed the motorcycle.
Because
it was a symbol of his innocence, of his world has his exactly, his mod life's done and he needs to grow up.
Yeah, but he's alive. The beginning of the movie starts out with him walking away from that cliff. So like he lived at the beginning of the movie. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying I didn't realize that was the cliffs at the end. That circle.
Yeah, it goes full. It's bookended. Like at the beginning of the movie, you see him walking away from the cliffs, and then at the end of the movie, you see him drive the scooter off the cliff. Now, if you want to say it's not the cliffs at the beginning, which I'm not saying you guys are saying that, but if you wanted to make that argument, whenever the scooter goes over, you can actually still see him standing at the top of the cliffs as the helicopter that was getting that shot kind of flies away. So he definitely lived. Hands down, he lived.
The first shot of like the bike going over the cliff or whatnot, from below ish or whatever, it looked like they had strapped a dummy to it, and it was in the act of falling away from the bike, and then it was only on there for like maybe 2 seconds. It was just very quick. But then the other shots of the bike falling, it was just the bike.
And I didn't see the dummy. I saw some sand that might have been like kind of.
It might have been sand, but it almost looked like a coat, almost like a coat was flying off or something like that. And
when you also might have seen the stunt guy fucking diving for his life, so he didn't go over the edge with the bike.
So, yeah, I'm kind of wondering too if they may have shown him or a dummy going off the cliff and be like, okay, let's actually have him commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And then it may have tested bad, and they're like, well, okay, well, we still have some shots from that, and we'll just say that he killed the bike.
Do you think they tested this movie?
Yes.
No.
If they tested in front of audiences, you think they tested it?
I do.
If they tested it, I think everybody would walk out during like the public bath scene or whatever, when they were singing, him and his buddy were singing.
You're way too hung up on a little bit of cock on Saint. So let me say two things. One, I don't know if they're hung or not, but I don't think that this movie would have ended with him dying, because Pete Townsend. I feel like Pete Townsend was trying to make a statement about the whole mod movement and using Jimmy as the embodiment of that movement. Because like the mod movement eventually like tore itself to pieces, right? Like eventually what happened around 1967, 1968, 1969, the mod movement split into multiple groups. One of the groups being the skinheads, which were not racist. They were into soul and reggae and all the same shit that the original mods were into. But they were the ones who, in the original mod movement, you saw some of them at the Brighton riots. They were wearing like jeans and Harrington jackets and all that kind of stuff. And then that group was the hard mods. They turned into skinheads. And then the soft mods turned into like the peacock bullshit that you see in London during the 70s, where like everyone's wearing velvet and big feather hats and all that nonsense. That's they would have been the soft mods, quote unquote. And that's just two of the major groups that came out of it. So I think that what Pete Townsend was saying was like, in the early 60s, like they were being super fucking childish about this whole idea that like, well, we can rule the world and we can do whatever the fuck we want to do. And it's like, no, you can't. Like eventually you're actually going to have to like hold down a job and, take care of your families and stuff. And as the movement fell apart, much like it did for Jimmy, they had to grow up and some of them got to move on and do whatever, but some of them just had to become adults and like help run Britain, So I think, I don't think that him killing himself would have had the same message. Does that make sense? I think it would have trashed quite a bit of the movie, because I think it would have kind of ruined that whole mental illness thing. That would have been the take that back. Mental illness piece would have been the only thing that it did support. The rest of the mod stuff would essentially have fallen to the wayside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it just felt like a giant or like a glorified music video for that album
to a large extent. Yeah, I kind of agree. I like the second half of the movie, and like you said, Eddie, when he starts to realize that his whole world is collapsing around him, that's when the movie really picks up for me. I start to enjoy the movie. Actually, enjoy the movie at that point.
Yeah.
And I was going to say that I enjoy when screenwriters put in, little clues. It's just good screenwriting, so everybody should be doing it, but not every movie does. Like they support the idea of him going through the cliffs of Dover and jumping off.
I don't give a monkey's assholes about mods and rockers. Underneath, we're all the same, aren't we?
No, Kev, that's it. Like, I don't want to be the same as everybody else. That's why I'm a mod, see? I mean, you gotta be somebody, ain't you? Or you might as well jump in the sea and drown.
The writer they implant that little seed there, and they make you think, okay, well,
he's gonna off himself.
And the same thing when he was at the beach and he was just kind of watching the water, almost thinking about, well, I could just, kill myself here,
off myself.
Yeah. And it's just like my uncle or something, because that was also planted in there at the very beginning too. And so I was thinking, okay, this dude's just gonna off himself.
And see, what's funny is like you guys enjoy, like I actually like the first hour of the movie before they go to Brighton more, because I like seeing the culture. Like I think I like the subculture that existed back then. So I find that part really interesting. Now, as far as just being like kind of fun or more action, well, yeah, obviously once they go to Brighton, more shit happens. I mean, it's not just a drama at that point, but I don't know. I prefer I like the first part, them going, like him going around London, trying on different suits and shit. I don't know. I like that part.
Well, I mean, like the first part just to me was like we were saying earlier, was just too slow. And it's like, I kept going, where is this going? Where is this movie going? Okay, I get it. The guy is a partier. He resembles me in high school. I get it.
Yeah.
He just goes from party to party to party and does his thing. He goes to work and he spends the weekend partying.
Yeah.
I understand. I don't need to be force fed it 4 times. That's just was kind of my feeling. It was like they were just trying. It's like, okay, come on, let's do this. And now we're an hour in. I started enjoying the film.
Yeah, and see, I think the mentality that we both have on this is just slightly different. Like I look at it like they weren't force feeding it necessarily. I think they were trying to build the world and show you more of that early 60s time. But I can see what you're saying. Does that make sense? Like I understand what you mean. I just like that they were trying to show the world, and Pete Townsend was a part of all that. So
yeah, and I think what he was trying. I mean, what I interpreted it as, it's like there was like a lot of stuff happening, but yet nothing was happening. Because like there was just a lot of the same things over and over and over again, but no progression or no deterioration in his case.
I saw deterioration. I saw progression in multiple ways. So I just don't see what you guys. We're just different on this. Like for me, he was deteriorating both. Like he seemed to be falling further and further into the mod world, quote unquote. but he also was like he was pulling away from his parents. But then at the same time, he was actually getting closer as he fell more in love with Steph. He was getting closer to having a traditional version of what love is, quote unquote, that he was falling into as well, which doesn't fit with the mod culture. So those two things were eventually going to collide. They can't possibly live within the same subculture like that. Sure. So I don't know. I just see it differently. That's what I mean.
Like it's just... we've got 40 years of separation here.
Right.
Between the two movies, and we've seen a lot of movies that do go back. Now, when they go back and they build that world, so we kind of know it's like, okay, we get it. But back in '79, they probably didn't get it, especially the stiffs, that were running the place and had the money to go see a movie. Like, okay, I'll go see this movie, or I'll watch it on TV or whatever they did. They had to build that world because the world was still new, where it's possible wasn't not necessarily new. So that could be our hang up, being a 40-year separation.
Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely my separation.
It's very possible.
Not getting it. Yeah.
And it's talking about the same thing John's talking about there, like Love with a Proper Stranger. I like that. That was one of your movies that you put up, Colin. Yeah. I liked the way that they kind of showed us more of what they were kind of living with. I wanted a little more of the world, even whenever we watched that movie. But overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty good, and that was definitely kind of a non-traditional love thing happening there too.
Sure,
So I don't know. I like that one.
It also had a pretty solid plot, but
it did. Yeah.
But okay, so like the box office, I don't have any numbers whatsoever except the gross worldwide, which I don't really believe this number. It's $243. I highly doubt that movie only made $243. So
yeah, I
guess
doubt
I guess it's another movie made by the mafia. So money laundering.
Maybe maybe it was just creative accounting.
Maybe
just like
they just forgot
we didn't make any money, and Townsend just spent it on blow and pinatas or something.
Blow and pinatas.
Well, yeah, he was doing his windmill thing, and
he
hit pinatas.
Wow.
I don't know where I'm going with that. But I do know where we're going, because we're going to have scores now. So, Eddie, this was your movie, so why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Okay, so I like this movie. I've seen it, I don't know, a lot. I used to ride Vespas and scooters and whatnot. The scooters in this movie are predominantly Lambrettas, which the British scene was known for. But I rode Vespas, kind of similar to the one that Sting had. I don't know. For me, I just like it. I think that the soundtrack for it is awesome. I love the Ronettes, the Crystals, Darlene Love, the Kinks, the early Who stuff. I just am really into that style of music in general. So I really like the soundtrack. Cinematography was cool. The actors, I like that. I didn't really recognize any of the actors, especially the ones that now we know, but back then they were super young, so I didn't recognize them. And they, to me anyway, they embody the character that they were trying to be. So it was an easy sell for me in that way. So overall, I enjoy the movie. For me, the movie does have flaws, but I don't know. I still enjoy it. So for me, it's going to be a 7.
Okay, 7 for Eddie. Kyle, you're next.
Definitely not as high as Eddie. I think it's mainly because I have never, owned a scooter, owned a bike. I'm not really into that mod versus rocker or, leather jackets versus army jackets or whatever. The
jacket.
I guess. I mean, this whole movie was just slow to me. Except for like the last 30 minutes, it definitely sped up. And after the fact, I just felt empty. It's just nothing. It was just 2 hours of kind of just watching the same thing over and over again and some action scenes. I'm going to give this a 2.5.
Okay, a 2.5 for Kyle. John?
All right, as I said, I didn't enjoy the first half of the film. I did enjoy the second half. Something we didn't talk about was the cinematography. I did like a lot of the cinematography, so that definitely helps my score. And I love the soundtrack to the film too. I mean, I'm a Who fan. I'm not like an uber Who fan, but I mean, I do. If it's the Who, I won't turn it off the radio. I won't turn the radio. But I think I'm going to give this one. I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay, a 6 for John. So I came in here with a slightly lower score, but after our discussion, I think I'm going to raise it slightly. I enjoyed the second half of the movie more than the first, like everybody has kind of said. I felt it was kind of slow, not my kind of cup of tea. I don't think I would.
Not your cuppa.
Yeah, in it.
No offense to the British people.
Yeah, no offense.
No,
great people,
offense,
great
no
people.
offense.
Great people.
Yeah, we all sound like
emulation is admiration.
Yeah, exactly.
We all sound like John Wayne to them, but okay.
Yeah, we're all from Texas over there carrying 6-shooters.
Yeah, but I really like it when, like I said, the world starts collapsing for him. I think it starts to become interesting for me at that point. And yeah, you're right, John. We didn't talk too much about the cinematography like we typically do. There's one scene that I wanted to specifically mention was when during the Brighton, when it starts off, when the mods go to fight the rockers, and the rockers run into a diner, and there's a dolly shot that just goes from outside into the diner, which is a very typical shot. But what's cool is the way that the blocking happens, where everybody's like running around the camera and all that. I thought that was really cool. So I think I'm going to give this a 4.5, I think.
Okay.
So with that means that Quadrophenia from 1979 gets a even 5.
An even 5.
Yep. So we need to see what genre that we are going to be spinning for next week's show. So John, do you have that ready?
Okay. And here we go.
No audio.
No audio.
Beep, 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 beep. I'll put it in there for you. Yeah. Beep, beep.
Fantasy. Okay.
Fantasy.
Interesting.
Okay.
Hope I get it.
No. It's not in the rules.
I think I had fantasy last time, right? I did Pan's Labyrinth.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Dang, that was like that was the first.
It was like one of the first ones in the season. Yeah.
Okay,
ready for names?
Yep, ready for names.
All right, you're up.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
I'll do the sounds. Beep 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 beep. Uh-oh.
And looks like it's gonna be Kyle.
Oh, here we go. Film noir fantasy. Let's try it out.
All right, so I found a fantasy, and it is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971.
Nice.
It's about a poor but hopeful boy seeks one of the 5 coveted golden tickets that will send him on a tour of Willy Wonka's mysterious chocolate factory. It's very good.
I love that movie. I love this movie.
Childhood favorite.
I was about to say, John, this is like one of your favorite movies, right?
It's one of my favorite movies. I love Grandpa Joe. I will sit.
But Grandpa Joe's the villain.
He is the villain. In the car, driving along in the car, and I will sing. What's the song that he sings? I
got a golden ticket.
Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, golden ticket. I will sing it. I'll belt it out. I mean, over and over and over again. I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah.
So tune in next time so you can see John and I not be friends anymore. That's right. Just catch it here.
That's
the first
what
half of the movie is very
like...
slow, John. I'm just gonna say we're gonna rip this one to pieces.
Honestly, it is a little slow at the beginning. I'll say that. As a kid, I would always fast forward to when he got the ticket. And next time we go.
Next time. This is called
Leave it for the show.
Yes. So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Screen Riot. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you hit the like button below because that helps more people get to see our content. And make sure you check out all of our links below in the description. And join us next Saturday when we're going to be taking a look at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You can go to justwatch.com, type it in, search it in there, and you can see all the places that it's going to be streaming or for rent or for purchase or whatever. And so with that, thank you guys. See you.
See you.
Later.